Alabama leads the nation in opioid prescriptions.
Here locally, the number of people that are addicted to painkillers is skyrocketing.
And tonight's Reality Check, Local 15's Christian Jennings introduces you to a woman who's very open about her struggle with addiction.
She's hoping her story will encourage others like her to get the help they need before it's too late.
Christy Wells will be the first to tell you that battling addiction is a daily struggle. Over time, she's learned to manage her disease. She's been clean for 8 years. But getting to this stage in her life wasn't easy. Wells nearly lost everything to her addiction to opiates, including her life.
I went from taking 4 to 5 pills a day to 70 a day. 70 Lortab 10s every single day of my life. People often don't believe that, but that's what happened. I would have to take 7 or 8 at a time to get them to even notice that I'd taken them.
She started taking prescription painkillers because of legitimate pain from back injuries. Addiction wasn't an issue at first, but over the next 12 years, she found herself spiraling out of control.
I was doctor hopping everywhere, and then I began to forge prescriptions.
Her now ex-husband is a doctor, so at the time, getting access to his partner's prescription pad was easy, she says.
I had a lot of people who were doctors who were friends of mine, and so if I was at their house, I would just grab a pad. You know, I knew where to look. The pads were sitting around everywhere, and I would grab them.
To keep from going through withdrawals, most of her days were spent frantically driving around the Gulf Coast, pill shopping at local doctors' offices. She says one of her regular stops was at the Physician's Pain Specialist of Alabama Clinic. Co-owners Patrick Couch and Shulu Ron are currently on trial in federal court for allegedly running a pill mill.
I had a Jaguar and a convertible Mustang, I remember, and I sold both of them because I needed drug money.
Wells was quickly draining her family's bank accounts.
Because those pills were selling for $7 and $8 a piece on the street, and I would have to buy 1,000 at a time.
For years, she tried quitting. She even attempted suicide. Eventually, she was arrested and convicted on felony drug charges. While in jail, she began going through violent withdrawals. But the memory that haunts her most is the day her children came to visit.
I looked up and there were my 3 children standing there, seeing me, you know, pale and sick, and I'm sure it was unspeakable. I remember the look on their faces, and the look on their faces, and that moment was my rock bottom. I knew then that I either needed to A, get better, or B, die.
Wells spent 3 months in jail before being given the option of rehab and probation in lieu of a 10-year prison sentence. It was rehab that helped her turn her life around for good, and she hasn't looked back.
Certainly the opiate addiction problem has increased.
Dr. Richard Whitehurst sees the results of addiction firsthand at USA Children's and Women's Hospital.
It's not a choice, okay? It's not that they just can quit, okay? There is a disease.
He says doctors are starting to pull back on the number of opiate prescriptions they write.
But there's been a consequence to that. We're starting to see an increased use of heroin again, and I think it's probably because it's cheaper.
As for Wells, her passion now is helping other addicts. She works with the Drug Education Council and volunteers with a group in Foley called Infinity Counseling, where she's working to start a women's day treatment program. Prior to that, she served as executive director at The Shoulder, a faith-based treatment center. Wells says if sharing her story saves just one life, it'll be worth it.
None of us woke up one day and thought, oh, I'd love to be a drug addict. I was sick, and I didn't know what to do. And I want people to know that there are ways to get help.
There are signs to look for if you suspect a loved one is suffering from opioid addiction. You may notice increased secrecy, changes in appearance, an ability to concentrate, drowsiness, and a lowered interest in social activities. Wells says her best advice is never enable an addict. For resources and information on help that's available in our community, visit our website, local15tv.com.
And if you have a story you want us to investigate or an issue that needs to be addressed by our advocacy team, let us know. We'll get you answers.
Call our Reality Check hotline. The number is right there on your screen, 877-315-7268.